All of the information contained in the following video is strictly for informational purposes only. Nothing contained in the following video is meant to be recommended as a course of action for anybody, for anything, and is not meant to teach anybody anything. Strictly for informational purposes only. And if you attempt to perform any action shown, demonstrated, or talked about in the following video, you are doing so wholly at your own risk. Hi, my name is Giamboi, and today I'd like to talk about the complete breath. In yoga, there's the concept of breathing into one or more of the three sections of our lungs. Now, I know in Western anatomy, the lungs appear to be just in one section. But in practice, we all tend to breathe in one or more of the three sections, meaning the lower, middle, or upper section of our lungs. Which section we breathe in is determined primarily by how we breathe. Which muscles do we use to activate our breath? If you use your diaphragm and or your belly, you will breathe into the lower section of your lungs. If you use your rib cage or intercostal muscles, you will breathe to the middle of the lungs. And if you raise your clavicle or collarbones, you will tend to breathe into the upper portion of your lungs. Of course, in each of these, air goes into all sections of the lungs, but we're talking about which section you will use primarily. Okay. Now, to breathe into the lower section, which is the most efficient, we use the diaphragm, which is why we have a diaphragm. You activate your diaphragmatic muscles, it pulls the diaphragm down. The belly goes out, causes a vacuum in your abdominal region, and your lungs expand downward to fill up the vacuum, and air rushes in to fill up the vacuum in the lungs. To exhale, relax the diaphragmatic muscles, the diaphragm rises up, the belly comes in, and the air comes out of the lungs. To breathe with the middle section of the lungs, we activate the intercostal muscles of the rib cage. We expand the rib cage mostly to the sides like this. And exhale, the rib cage comes back to normal. For the clavicles, the upper section of the lungs, we raise the clavicles up and we lower. And the air comes into mostly to the upper section of the lungs. The complete breath is just that. It's breathing with all three sections in sequence, lower, middle, upper, exhaling in the exact opposite sequence, upper, middle, lower. Kind of looks like this. I inhale using the diaphragm, belly comes out. I inhale with the ribs go out. I raise the clavicles, fill up the upper section. I lower the clavicles. Rib cage relaxes in, belly comes in, diaphragm up. That's the complete breath. You can learn to do it rhythmically and in sequence with no gaps. It would look like this: belly, ribs, clavicle, clavicle, ribs, belly. Belly, ribs, clavicle, clavicle, ribs, and belly. The most confusing part is the diaphragm. Some people confuse belly breathing with diaphragmatic breathing. Some texts even consider it the same, but it's really not. Belly breathing is just that. It is breathing with the abdominal muscles. Some people actually use their rectus abdominis, or their six-pack, to breathe. You can see that when you notice that their shoulders are coming forward, like this. because that's what the rectus abdominis does. It flexes the spine forward. So if you feel your shoulders rocking forward and back, you're using the wrong muscle. The transverse abdominis is the deepest of the abdominal muscles. It's called transverse because it runs this way rather than up and down. You can push that out. You can pull that in. It works similar to the diaphragm in that if you push it out, it does cause the vacuum, causes the lungs to drop, but it is not the same. It is not the same as using the diaphragm. It does cause tension in your abdominal region. You can actually feel the diaphragm drop and expand outwards and come in and roll upwards if you pay close attention to what you feel. This is the correct breathing. Another way of checking is if I breathe with my transverse abdominis and I push it out, and then I try to expand my rib cage out, it won't go. If I push my abdominal wall out using my diaphragm, I can then expand my rib cage. And of course, let it go and let it come back up. So these are a couple of checks. They're all not the same. There is only one correct way of doing it. Unfortunately, I can't be more explicit than this because everything that happens will be inside of the person doing it. So you need to go inside of yourself using the guidelines that I go over here, and also which you may find in some good books, and do the best you can to accomplish what they teach. This kind of breathing is closely associated with your emotional state. Breathing with the lower part of your lungs and the diaphragm corresponds to a certain emotional state. Breathing with your mid-lungs and the rib cage corresponds to another emotional set. And breathing with the upper part corresponds to a third emotional state. The lower lungs is the most important because that one is associated with relaxation. The middle and the upper are more closely associated with stress and flight or fight syndrome. So those are not a good thing to be doing 24/7. So this needs to be practiced by all of us for general health and wellness. Lying down makes it easier to feel the belly rising and falling and the diaphragm moving. So if you're finding a little difficulty trying to get the feeling of what this is, try lying down on your back on a firm surface. And also, if that doesn't work, you can try applying a little pressure with your hands. That'll give you a little more sensory feedback as to what the belly is doing. If you use the hands, in Chinese polarity, ladies who put the center of their right palm over their navel, center of the left over the center of those. Men, we do the left one first and then the right. Okay, I wish you good luck. Please practice this as much as you can. Diaphragmatic breathing will become the norm for you if you practice it often enough. Thank you much. If you like what you've seen in the previous video, kindly go to one of my two websites, www.secretsofyogachikung.com with a hyphen between each word, and or www.genbukan.biz. That's GENBUKAN.biz. Thank you.